Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Barcelona-Catalunya circuit here for the 6th round of the Monkey Mafia Esports Series. If you're just joining us so far along this season, you'll know that Lancey dominated the first 4 rounds. Last time out was, well, it was quite the it was quite the end of it, as Lightwork did end up taking the win in what was a penalty and a wreckfest last time out in Australia, but we're here in Spain for the 6th round. Back on the grid once more is that of Lancey in the AlphaTauri this week, as it looks like Gazboy currently sits a 1:12.093, the fastest lap of the session so far. Hotspot on the call with you. We're going to go... I don't know what we're doing here. Coming around the corner now is Lancey, I believe. Is he completing one? Yes, he is. 1:11.982. Puts a tenth of a second back to Gazboy. That is a really solid lap there, if I say so myself. Meanwhile, Slayerized has gone third. Very nicely done from him. 1:13 flat. Not a bad lap there whatsoever. Next up to the line, I believe, is Minnie, who's coming around. And it looks like the Aston Martin of Ray has joined the session. And so now we have all but one car out on track. I'm going to leave you along with Shariah here as he starts a timed attempt. I need to go downstairs and get myself some water after the Gran Turismo 7 race that I've just completed. Good old-fashioned Tottenham Hotspur bottle job for me. And I need a second to clear my head. I'll be right back. Looks like now that Shariah has completed his most recent attempt, he finds himself second. Just about a tenth and a half off the pace. Not bad at all for the Ferrari driver, as, well, as I was away, Lightwork has been disqualified somehow. I'm not entirely sure how that's happened, but it has happened. So with Edwin now holding provisional pole, Shariah holding second, that has pushed Lancey down to third, finding himself about 4.5 tenths off the pace. So it looks like Lancey should be coming back around here shortly. Let's go ahead and check the driver standings. Let's see here. And it looks like the standings have not been updated yet, so we'll go along with what we have, that being Lancey atop the table, and that's all we know. Lancey's going to be coming back into the pits here. GSR Caesar, P5 at the moment. He's going to be coming around the final set of corners now as he, oh, he's going to be coming in. I thought he was on a timed lap there. It looked as if he was trying to put one together. We're just under 10 minutes left in the session here. Looks like Ray, the only driver so far who hasn't completed a timed attempt, currently finds himself making his way through what I believe is... what corners it is. Well, as he exits the final corner now, he'll be starting a timed lap here. As he makes his way through turn 4, I believe this is, in towards turn 5, which is the infamous Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg corner. He's gone purple sector 1, hasn't he? As he makes his way now in through... I'm sorry, I'm only just finding the track map now. Let me pull that up on my phone. It looks as if making his way down the hill 6th and 7th. This little nice left and right flick of turn 7 and 8 definitely will cause problems if you're not careful. Up the hill, round the crest of turn 9. That's a tricky corner to get correct, and he has invalidated. He's gone wide coming out of turn 9 atop the hill, and that will spell the end of this qualifying attempt for Ray Ray, who at the moment looked like he was on a very positive-looking lap, had to be said. Unfortunately, it's all for naught. Edwin and Shariah back out on track on outlaps, respectively. Gazboy looks as if he's going to be starting one here. Either that or he's just freshly put himself P4, and he's within 0.6 of a second of our top 3. That is a very good place to be at the moment, considering that the next closest car, which is Caesar, is 0.4 of a second behind him. So not bad at all. That's a nice little cushion to have then. Next up, we're going to go along with his Reimer. Is he making his way through Sector 2 now? Once again, Reimer, one of those drivers. Oh, as it looks like, that is, I believe, Gazboy then. Having a little bit of a spin coming out of turn 6, that is. And takes a trip into the gravel. Once again, Reimer, we go... I talk about this at least the past couple of rounds here. He has been within good results. And not just good results, race wins as well. He has been on the cusp of them, and it's just some bad luck and some crucial mistakes that really throw away those races for him. P6 is, I would think, slightly lower than expectations for Reimer at the moment. I'm assuming maybe he'll throw together a better one here. He's going to be heading into the pits. Perhaps has he made somewhat of a mistake that has rendered him unhappy with the lap. That may very well be the case. George Mazda guy's gone P5. Has taken over a second off of his previous time. Puts himself onto the 3rd row. Very nicely done. 7.5 of a second behind Gazboy. Starting one here, I think. I'm not sure if this is going to be the timed attempt or not. Remember, he did spin the car his last trek around the circuit over in turn 6. So, and it does look low on the energy store as well as, you know, when you do spin, I'm assuming the tires are going to be slightly worn. He is faster by about 1/10, though, so far. 6 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. Gazboy, now this is where he lost the car last time. Looks like he's handled it better this time around. Looks like he's making his way in towards the pits as Gazboy, so clearly he didn't look happy with that previous attempt. Caesar's going to be coming around the corner now. He currently finds himself P6. Looks like Caesar making his way to... I'm sorry, I'm busy, like, trying to text the Discord, but, we got 4 minutes and 40 seconds remaining here. Making his way in towards Sector 3 now. I'm not actually sure who GSR Caesar is. You know, this is somebody who's changed their name recently, and I tell you what, slapping the word GSR on your name, and I tell you what, doesn't mean you're free from mistakes. That was a pretty big one there from Caesar, who, that's a mistake in a very unusual part of the circuit. That's coming off of, what turn is that? I want to say turn 11? No, turn 12. He spun the car coming out of turn 12, and has resulted in him finding the inside barrier around where the rallycross course is. So if you're living under a rock and you don't know the changes made to the circuit, we'll go along with Slayerized here and he'll explain them. Now in towards turn 10. I am not a fan of this new corner because it eliminates the braking zone in towards what was turn 10 and 11, and it really has taken away that opportunity for a late brake into the corner and an overtaking maneuver. Out of turn 13 and 14, you'll notice the chicane is gone. Everybody, I think aside from me, enjoys that. As much as it didn't, as much as that chicane didn't help racing as far as like overtaking is concerned, neither is this change what we have here. And I feel like that final chicane was something to where if you make that mistake going through it, it does give your opponent a little bit better of a go heading down that pit straight. Now it's basically all you got to do is take those two corners correctly, which, by the way, that's still turn 14 is not easy. I'll go through that, but I mean, think of it here. Let's go along with Gazboy. So that is the braking zone they've taken out. It's a very wide berthed left-handed corner. I know the transition between what was 11 and 12 wasn't very good. That's probably why they've done it. But here coming out of 13, the chicane is gone. Now, I mean, it's just, it was a lose-lose situation, really, because the chicane wasn't very good. But that final section of corner that they've taken out isn't helping anything either. I think as far as qualifying was concerned, that was a final little test to make or break a lap, and it's not there anymore, and it was also one of those corners that, again, if you had a car following closely, you really had to get a better exit of the corner than your opponent, or else he'd have a good run of you down the straight. It was really, I think, kind of a benefit for overtaking was that chicane in the long run. But, that's just me. Feel free to disagree with me if you'd like. Typically people do. That is a hot take of mine, and I will kind of die on that hill, because that's what I believe. After seeing the, I've been around a lot of esports races before. I believe 90 in Midwest. I could be wrong. So it looks like Lancey has retired. Now, this is coming out of that final corner. We've got less than 2 minutes to go in the session now. Can we see where he is? This is Mini, or along with Now. Just trying to get an idea of where Lancey's lost the car. I mean, you don't see anything anywhere. I'm assuming he was towards the inside of the circuit as he perhaps just hit the wall going into the pit lane. That would be perhaps my guess. I'm not really sure where else it would have happened. Once again, within that final minute of this session now, 1 minute and 5 seconds to go. Our final stretch of timed laps will be coming out here. First up is going to be Gab as he makes his way through the first couple of corners. I do think, seriously, though, that first and second corner are the two best opening corners in Formula 1, though. Nice and wide, allows for overtaking, allows for runs on the outside of the corner that flow nicely into that very long right-handed corner of turn 3. That, isn't a very good corner in fairness, but I tell you what, that first sector of the track, very nicely done. Is this a Herman Tilke designed circuit? I'm not entirely sure, but whoever it is, they've done well on this one. Over the crest of the hill through turn 9. And then down the back straight here in towards turn 10. Once again, a wide corner. You can carry a lot more speed. Nice smooth transition from 11 to 12. Exiting 12. Oh, he spun it there again. That's where we saw, who was it? That's where we saw his teammate of Caesar go off, and unfortunately, Gab is not going to get a attempt to put in a final good attempt here. Gazboy will not either. He's calling it quits. Ray still has not put together a time. He's going to be coming to the line now. What does Ray have? It's going to be in the 1:13. 1:12.881 is his final attempt. Only goes P11. Not very good for Ray. I'm sure he would like to believe he would have been capable of more. Edwin coming through the final stages of the lap now, and he will be coming into the pits. Lancey 1:11.440. Looks to be a lap that maybe the drivers think they can't improve on. Although, Shariah Coleslaw coming out of the final corner now, does well, holds it on exit. Shariah to the line. improves by a tenth, 1:11.618, moves himself within 0.2 of a second of Lancey's provisional pole time, and by provisional pole, I mean it is officially pole now. Lancey, a driver who has dominated the early stages of the season, finds himself on pole position. Edwin, less than a tenth and a half behind, and Shariah less than 0.2 behind again. I think Lancey might just have himself a dogfight off the starting line here, if all goes to plan. Still a couple of cars out on track, but it will be the Dutchman of Lancey and the AlphaTauri this week taking pole position. And so your starting grid then for the Spanish Grand Prix, it is Lancey on pole by less than a tenth and a half over Edwin, less than 0.2 over Shariah, who sits third. Gazboy, 6.5 tenths behind the leader in fourth. Mazda fifth. Caesar, sixth. Reimer, seventh. Slayerized, eighth with a 5-place grid penalty. Ninth is Fireballer. 10th is Beamer. 11th, Ray Ray. 12th is Gab. 13th, Osmanian Devil. 14th is Mini. 15th belongs to NFS Lightwork, who was disqualified at the end of the day. Well, Lancey, I tell you what, will have himself a tough time off the line here. It is a massive run down to the first corner. I do not doubt the talent of Lancey, though. This one still is going to be one hell of a Grand Prix. So, formation lap underway here. Lancey's going to lead them off the grid. It'll be interesting to see what tire choices everybody has, chosen to go on. Let's see what we got here. Wow, that is quite the mixture then. I have a feeling that anybody on the soft tires, i.e. Lancey, Shariah, George Mazda Guy, Reimer, Osmani Devil, and Slayerized, they are hoping for the early safety car here. That, I think, is going to be their plan. You know, use those softs, make the mandatory stop at your earliest convenience. I think the mediums, you could make a case for that as well. Perhaps they're going to be looking at a safety car more around the 10-lap range. I would say the softs more around 5 laps or less. This is a high degradation circuit, as you would have guessed. I feel like Edwin choosing the hards is a really bold decision from him, considering how close he was in pace to Lancey. I would have understood the mediums. I think that wouldn't have been, you know, such a wild choice, but one of only 2 cars on track to fit the hards, being himself and Caesar, who currently sits P6, only one other driver on the off compound in the top 5, in the first 3 rows. That belongs to Gazboy on the mediums, who I think is really just playing, I would say, more of the conservative route here. That has to be said. You know, you got those on the softs that I would say are playing aggressive, the mediums the conservative, and perhaps those on the hards aggressively conservative, if that makes any sense at all. You know, they're going to be hoping for the long runs. They're going to see how long they can push, see how long they can hang with those on the faster tires around them. I don't think taking the... Well, see, again, it's interesting because we would assume the soft tires are going to be wearing out before, 8 laps, I would think, is going to be the maximum. As Lancey's disqualified, he doesn't find the grid slot correctly. That's going to give Edwin about 5 meters of advantage here when it comes time to get off the line here. Looks like Caesar doesn't find the grid box well either. Yeah, this is turning out to be a very, very interesting Grand Prix. Does that perhaps mean we have weather on the way, too? That could be another indication of why we're seeing so many off-tire strategies. Well, the lights will be turning on here any moment. We have 4, and eventually 5. And for the 6th time in the Monkey Mafia Esports Series, they are off. Lancey gets a much, much better start, considering he's on those soft tires. The Ferrari of Shariah tries to find the left-hand side as they make their way in towards the first corner. Who gets the outside? It's going to be Shariah, but he's no match for Lancey, who just has severe pace off the line, and it looks like we have 2 retirements in the early goings. Lightwork has a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Ray Ray. Fireballer and Mini are the 2 that have ate the dust here. It's a virtual safety car out on track. We saw the Alfa Romeo of George Mazda Guy. Something had happened with him. He had found himself well off the track. And then in the early stages here, well, I'm not entirely sure what's happened with Fireballer or Mini, but they will not find the end of the Grand Prix here. Lancey retains the first spot. Shariah takes second from Edwin, which was kind of what we thought was going to be in the cards, considering his choice to start on the hard tires, although only losing one spot and staying within range. This virtual safety car is going to help him on that front very much so. Gazboy has stayed stagnant in 4th. Caesar up 1 to 5th. Reimer 6th. Beamer 7th. 8th is Osmanian. 9th is Gab. 10th is Slayerized. Now I'm just wondering, that's a 14 to 16 soft to medium. Okay, that doesn't seem right to me. Lightwork has a 5-second penalty. We're not rightly sure why that's happened with him, but he has accumulated one. Mind you, he was disqualified in the session. Started P15, got himself really into the mix there with, well, somebody, and, well, it looks like, oh, he's on his way into the pits. Yeah, he's missing his front wing. I didn't notice that at first. Himself and Ray Ray are going to be coming in here. That's going to severely hinder their progress in the opening stages here. Still the virtual safety car out on track. We did have 2 DNFs. It all makes sense. Lancey's going to get out to a 2.5-second lead off the virtual safety car here. Shariah under pressure from Edwin, very much so. Edwin's going to try his luck down to the inside. Had a look, didn't really commit to it. Reimer swoops down to the inside of the McLaren of Caesar, who goes wide, going through the 5th corner, and that, I'm afraid, was a very easy overtake to be had from Reimer. He looked like he was pulling off one of the greatest switchbacks I've ever seen. As it turns out, the McLaren had just simply ran wide, but it is Reimer promoting himself into the 5th spot, as for the time being, Edwin is still holding on to the back, I'd say very impressively, to the back of Shariah Coleslaw here. Lancey, however, that AlphaTauri, very much going into the distance here, riding off into the sunset already. 1.5 seconds. Back to Shariah Coleslaw. Meanwhile, Gazboy trying to peek his head in on this as well. He'll be under pressure from Reimer. We're going to get DRS next time by, so that'll be something to look forward to here as Lancey fastest lap naturally. 0.4 of a second and closing here for Edwin. Trying to get within striking distance of Shariah. It's not going to be coming this time into the first corner, but I tell you what, those hards really look like a competitive tire to be on at the moment. I had my doubts, and I tell you what, it does certainly look as if you can survive on the hard tires at the moment. In fact, I would say the mediums, the softs being occupied by Shariah, not really coming to his aid all that much. He's still standing about 1.5 seconds behind Lancey. Lancey being on the mediums. Actually, no, is he on the softs as well? Yes, he is. So it looks like the softs versus the softs is not necessarily the best place to be. However, these medium tires don't look all too bad at the moment. Or the hard tires and the mediums as well, trying his best to get back into this. It looks like Reimer's slightly fallen off the back of Gazboy here, now outside of over 1.5 seconds. As it looks, Osmanian Devil is really trying to have a peek down to the inside of the Haas of Beamer as they make their way through turn 10, 11, and into 12. This is going to be a very tricky spot of the track to make anything happen. They're going to have to wait for DRS. That's going to be, I think, probably the kind of the better place to be, it has to be said. Shariah fastest lap so far. And down the pit straight they go, down to the inside is that of Slayerized. Meanwhile, it looks like Edwin has gotten around Shariah, or at the very least they're battling for position here. Perhaps were they side by side. Oh! Gazboy is well off the track. That is a huge accident then. The safety car on track. And I'm going to be honest, that was a massive shunt there. He had to have been going at that wall at a surplus 150 miles an hour. As Gazboy, massive off into the barriers. In real life, we would have seen that be a red flag legitimately, considering how hard he hit. Thankfully, we don't have to wait to repair Tech Pro barriers in this game, but what a shunt then from Gazboy, who unfortunately will not find the end of the Grand Prix here. The safety car out on track. Now this, I'm assuming, is what the drivers who fit the softs were hoping for. That being Lancey, that being, who else? We had Shariah and Reimer, Osmanian, Slayerized, and Mazda Guy all, I think, planning for that early safety car, and here it is, 4 laps in, and yes, there goes Lancey into the pit lane. Edwin, I would assume, is going to be staying out here. Yes, he does. Shariah on his way in. Reimer on his way in, and it looks as if, yes, the drivers who did start on the softs did naturally gravitate towards the top of the grid. Osmanian stays out. That seems like a bold decision to me. Drivers on the mediums. Gab stays out. It looks like Yeah, Gab has stayed out. Lancey's going to go ahead and fit the softs. Sorry, the mediums, rather. That seems like slightly a bold decision from me. I would think he would have gone and fit the hards, as Shariah is done, as Reimer is done. But Lancey making the bold decision to go to the mediums on the early stop here. That kind of seems, well, he's a damn sight quicker than I ever am, but even to the naked eye, that does seem like slightly a mistake, has to be said. But that will leave Edwin taking the lead of the Grand Prix here. Caesar, who has stayed clear of any trouble, has gone up to second. Osmanian Devil third. Beamer and Gab are the 5 cars that stayed out. Ray, I believe, stayed out as well. But from Lancey on back, they have all found the pit boxes then. 5th lap of the Grand Prix here. I'm going to step aside the safety car. I feel is going to have a couple of more laps out here. So safety car will be in this lap. Once again, Edwin has taken control of the grid here after staying out naturally as he would have under the safety car, considering he started on the hard. Caesar has done that as well. Osmanian, I think, has made the most bold decision out of this, stays out on the softs. Now, according to the graphic we saw earlier, it said the softs would go up to 14 laps. Again, that doesn't seem right at all. I have never seen soft tires go more than about 10 at Spain before, but I guess perhaps is their first time for everything. Eyes are going to be on Lancey here, the driver who will eventually reclaim the lead of the grid here. But we're back under green flag, and it looks as if already Osmanian Devil under pressure from Beamer as they're going to be heading down towards the first corner. But more importantly, Lancey down to the inside of Gab, side by side. Hopefully it stays clean. A bit of a lock-up there for Lancey. But at the moment, he's going to stay ahead of the McLaren quite nicely. Nicely done there from the Dutchman himself. Edwin has managed to stay ahead of Caesar, as now they make their way through the 5th corner and in towards Sector 2. Looks as if, at the moment, that Red Bull is doing, which I think this is going to be their prime operating window here. They've had enough time to get, you know, up the temperature, and I think they're still at a good enough point to where the wear isn't really going to be affecting them all that much. Lancey within 2.5 tenths of Beamer here. Beamer stayed out, started on the mediums, still on his original mediums. Lancey down to the inside, looking through 10. And remember how I was saying before, we don't see moves into turn 10 anymore? Well, I tell you what, Lancey has done a great one there. Moved himself up into 4th. And the one of the more unconventional places to make a move on this track. Very nicely done. That's 2 spots gained since the off here. And now looking to have one more as his teammate of Osmanian Devil is right in front of him here. He's going to be side by side. The AlphaTauris in unison down the pit straight in towards the first corner. Meanwhile, Edwin out to a 2.5 lead over Caesar as they complete now what will be as they start now what will be, I believe, the 3rd lap, 2nd or 3rd lap, since the safety car is coming. Oh, and look at this! Lancey and Osmanian Devil are coming together! In what is an almost exact repeat of Reimer versus his teammate of Lightwork, the 2 AlphaTauris come together at exiting turn 3. Well, if you're Osmanian Devil, I think you really have to get out of the way in that situation. His teammate, one of the fastest drivers on the grid, no doubt about that. Osmanian Devil did not want to cede the position. And Lancey, I'm afraid, his chances of winning today's race and making it 5 out of 6 rounds, well, I'm afraid his chances just got a whole lot slimmer. And if I'm Lancey, I'm going to be very, very upset about that. The second instance we've seen... Well, actually, that's not even true. We've seen... Since Circuit of the Americas, we've seen 4 separate instances of teammates coming together. Reimer and Lightwork took each other out of the race at Circuit of the Americas. Last time out in Australia, it was Lightwork in one of the Red Bulls that collided going through turn 10, the little left-to-right flick that in turn took out... Well, I tell you what, Lightwork still ended up winning that race, but either way the contact was made. That ended up taking his teammate out of contention, as well as the 2 Red Bulls colliding in that. And I believe one, if not both of them, retiring from the session in that instance, and we've just seen again the two AlphaTauris. Whoever said teamwork makes the dream work, whoever said that clearly, well, they didn't listen. That's going to be the end of it then. Slayerized looking around the right side of Reimer as they make their way into turn 10. It's going to be a tough one to hang around the outside there, but he's actually almost done well. And Reimer having Gab in front of him, that's really going to help Slayerized try and, stay within this battle. On to the 10th lap of the Grand Prix here, and we've had so much action already. Not even a third of the way through. But here we go, DRS activated here. It looks like Lightwork has it as well to Slayerized. Down to the inside is going to be Reimer on Gab. Slayerized is going to try it as well. He's made contact with the right rear tire of the McLaren of Gab, and is going to fall out of position and lose one to Lightwork. And it has to be said, I think Slayerized maybe... Oh, but Beamer spun around! And Beamer losing positions now. It looks as if he's managed to keep it off the walls for the most part. Doesn't look as if he's hit anything. He's not lost any wing. But very unfortunate for him, who was having a great race so far. And I think what I was going to say was Slayerized. I think maybe had he just locked up the tires and tried it on Gab, and it really wasn't going to happen, and he kind of ran out of room and ran into the McLaren. To no fault of anyone else, I think, except himself there. A little bit cynical, but has to be said. I think that is the truth in that scenario. That leaves still this battle then between these two, still Gab and Slayerized, within half a second here. Slayerized very much pressuring Gab here. Gab has fallen almost outside of a second on Lightwork, as now with the DRS heading down the pit straight, as you can see the drivers ahead weaving. Shariah back within a second of Caesar. By the way, Edwin almost out to a 4-second lead over Caesar for the second spot. Edwin has really pulled away with this one since the safety car has come out, has gone back in rather. And wouldn't you know it, the two teammates swapping position there as Lightwork on the 8-lap-old mediums. Reimer, I believe, just letting him go. Not sure if that was the right decision or not, as Shariah and Caesar side by side, and that was going into turn 7. That's a very bold place to go side by side. Caesar has taken the spot. Half a second for Shariah here as they go down in towards turn 10. Into the turn 10 braking zone. I wasn't paying too close attention to the timing between these two. I would assume 8-lap-old mediums, still going to be better than the 6-lap-old hards. We're not yet at the crossover point for those two tire compounds, so we'll just have to think that that's going to be the better choice. Shariah Coleslaw down to the inside. On Caesar in their way in towards turn 1. And he's going to get him well before the corner even happens. Nicely done from Shariah to make that move and make it with time and room to spare. Reimer still within half a second of his teammate here. He's not really going to be pressuring too much, although he does still need to stay within DRS range because Slayerized being 1.5 seconds behind on arguably still faster tires, he's going to be coming quite quickly here. As long as he doesn't battle too much with the McLaren of Gab. These two have been battling quite a bit. Lightwork's gone off! And I'm not sure what's happened there, but we have another safety car on track. And I have to think that was all on error of Lightwork, as he was still well in front of his teammate, at least 0.6 of a second. And he has lost the car coming out of turn 4. The safety car on track. I'm not sure what the happening was there for Lightwork, but last week's winner, unfortunately, this week's spinner. And now that will see the drivers on the hards make their way into the pits. Edwin will come in, Shariah will stay out. He pitted the last safety car 7 laps ago. Caesar on his way in. Reimer, what will he decide to do? He will come in. Okay, so Reimer, the first driver on the fresh hards, stopping now. Maybe is he going to try to fit the mediums and stretch them as long as he can? That's not a bad idea. We'll have to wait and see. Gab's on his way in. Slayerized on his way in. Beamer, and I would assume Mazda Guy in as well. Nope, George Mazda Guy is going to stay out here on his 7-lap-old hards. He's going to take the page from Shariah's book. and I think that may be the better decision at the end of the day. That will promote Mazda Guy up to, it looks like it's going to be P4. Soraya has taken the lead of the Grand Prix. Edwin, second on now the fresh mediums. Caesar, third on fresh mediums. Mazda Guy, 8-lap old hards. Reimer, fresh mediums in 5th. Slayer Eyes, a fresh medium 6th. Gab has come in. He's pit for fresh hards. 7th, 8th is Beamer, fresh hards for him. Looks like Lancey's going to stay out. Is only going to overtake his teammate for P9. And Lancey's still in the 4-lap old hards after the collision with his teammate. Yeah, I don't... Tough break for Lancey. You know, that's all that has to be said regarding that. But Soraya will lead the green. Will lead the group back round here behind the safety car, and I'm going to step aside until then. The game has just informed me that the safety car will be in at the tail end of this lap. We're almost halfway through, and we've had 4 DNFs already. Lightwork spun it on his own. Gazboy, I believe, I'm not sure if he lost it on his own as well, but we do know that Fireballer and Mini came together on the opening lap. Gazboy, remember, had that huge shunt going through turn 3, which we still don't really know the cause of that, but that definitely happened. We were along for the ride. That was a violent one for sure. Soraya Coleslaw here will lead the field back to green. 10-lap old hard tires with the majority of the grid. In fact, yeah, I would say the entirety of the grid, barring Ray Ray, on fresh tires, whether they be the mediums or the hards. Soraya's going to have himself a lot of defending to do here, especially from Edwin, who for the most part has had a very dominant day so far. In towards the first corner they go. In fact, Soraya is actually kind of pulling him here. Reimer down to the inside of Caesar for the 3rd spot. Isn't going to get it this time. We do have Beamer off at the back. Something has happened regarding him. Not quite sure. Lancey up trying to find his way around George Mazda Guy, and eventually his teammate of Osmanian Devil. Once more, Edwin within 0.2 of a second of Soraya here as they make their way in towards turn 5. Very close racing at the moment. Edwin doing his best, trying to find a way. A mistake, perhaps, from the Ferrari driver ahead. At the moment, these two have cleared Caesar by 1.5 seconds. Edwin really against the tail end of Soraya here. He's going to look for the right-hand side on their way into turn 10. He's going to try to outbrake him around the outside. Does he have better acceleration on the outside of the corner? Yes, he does. Great move from Edwin. And that will drop Soraya to 2nd, which... has to be said, it was only going to be a matter of time. Oh, I think, did these two just get together? Yes, Reimer and Caesar were side by side. Reimer, you can note the hint of gravel along the left-hand side of the car. That would point to him being forced off track by the McLaren there. Well, I say forced off track. We don't know if that's the case or not, but still, somebody's going to have some explaining to do there. Reimer round the left-hand side in towards turn 1. Slayerized in this battle as well. Caesar's going to back off, and now is going to be under pressure from Slayer Eyes, who's going to try to take it round the outside of turn 3. How is he finding this much grip on the outside of the corner? Hardly needs to lift, and in towards turn 4. Well, Caesar defends the inside of the corner very well, and now switches back to the outside, and Slayer Eyes trying as much as he can to find some sort of move around. As it looks like Osmanian Devil under pressure from Mazda Guy here. In pursuit, but not necessarily in close. I'm assuming maybe. Does Lancey have some side pod damage that is hindering his car's performance here? Because still 7/8 of a second behind George Mazda Guy in this battle for what will eventually be P6. Slayer Eyes within 0.5 seconds of Caesar here. Osmanian Devil side by side with Gab, making their way through 12. Maybe contact being made there. Either way, both cars getting out of shape. Osmanian's going to cede position as he's gone off track. Gab will swoop down to the inside. Mazda Guy, as you saw just that. Oh! Lancey's off at the back. He's gone into the gravel. And I think as the Haas... No, it is just Lancey. I'm not sure what's happened with him, as he lost it on his own. But we saw him well into the gravel trap outside of turn 14. And now finds himself 4 seconds behind the next car, which is the Haas of Beamer. Well, 0.3 of a second and closing here. Osmanian Devil trying to find the inside of Gab. Nothing to be had. Reimer now outside of 1 second on Soraya. Soraya outside of 2.5. There goes Osmanian trying to find the outside. coming out of turn 5 through turn 6. Yes, he does. Very nicely done. Another slightly unconventional place to make a move happen, but very nicely done nonetheless from Osmanian Devil that time. George Mazdaguy, don't forget, is in this battle as well. He has picked up 3 seconds for time penalty, but considering how we still have a fair bit of racing left to go, anything can happen. He's going to go way deep into turn 10. He's going to well miss the braking zone there, and unfortunately that's going to cost him a bit of time. Slayer Eyes trying to find a move towards Caesar for the 4th spot. 0.6 of a second here, and not necessarily closing either. And DRS activated for the Alfa Romeo here, but again, not really closing that quick. Although maybe now is he going to try to reel him in, as it looks like Gab down the inside of Osmanian Devil, and that one looks easy enough for the McLaren. Beamer and Ray battling here, as Beamer is going to get that spot, but he's going to go way deep into turn 1, and he's going to miss the corner, and has to take the escape road there, and it looks like Lancey has retired on his own will from the session. Very unfortunate for him. I think he'll still maintain the lead of the championship after this, but you have to feel for him, because really the reasoning behind this day going awry for him is, well, it's rather out of his control. .5 of a second and closing here for Reimer. Slayer Eyes trying to find room as well within half a second and trying to close in the McLaren here. Not necessarily threatening him enough for the McLaren to make a mistake, but enough to at least definitely be all over the rearview mirror of that McLaren. Very much within the slipstream now, down to the inside. And Slayer Eyes is going to take that one about 200 meters before the corner. Very nicely done. Slayer Eyes now is you're going to be able to hunt down Reimer, who Reimer is still within 5.5 of Shariah here for the 2nd spot. Shariah being on 15-lap old hards. It has to be said, I think this may have been a mistake for Shariah. You know, I think the idea was good, but it doesn't seem like it's going to work in his favor this time around. .6 of a second and beginning to close for Caesar. Reimer within 0.4 here, trying his best to get up to Shariah. Still not really pressuring him just enough, as behind him, Slayer Eyes getting closer now to the Alpine for the 3rd spot. Closing in on 10 laps to go here in Spain for the 6th round of the Monkey Mafia Esports Series. DRS going to be activated here for Reimer. 0.3 of a second and closing. He's going to have to find the inside of Shariah. Yes, he does. He looks for it, and he's going to get him before the braking zone. Nicely done for Reimer. He stuck that one out as long as he could, and finally makes the spot over Shariah. And oh, by the way, hats off to Shariah, who did as best he could to hold on to the position for as long as he could, and still, I'd say, in position to, if Reimer makes a mistake, to, you know, be in the position to make a move, perhaps. But behind him, Slayer Eyes is going to be pressuring the Ferrari here very shortly, as Caesar also getting in on this battle as well. We have ourselves a 1, 2, 3, 4-car battle for the 2nd spot, as meanwhile Edwin is out to almost a 5.5 second lead. He has taken that lead and has never looked back. He has definitely dominated today. And what will be, I would say, almost penance for last time out in Australia, after the conundrum there involving himself, his teammate, Reimer, and Lightwork. It's very interesting to see here. I mean, you definitely get the feeling that consistency is hard to come by in this league. It almost seems, if your name is... Oh, well, Reimer, I tell you what, I'm not sure what in the hell that was, but he has swerved way down to the inside of the circuit, going towards the pit wall there, as Shariah Coleslaw down to the inside. Slayer Eyes is going to want to peek as well. Doesn't really get it. Maybe some contact between the two. Shariah is actually going to get back ahead of Reimer here. Very nicely done for Shariah. Now Slayer Eyes really pressuring Reimer here. Is going to look down to the inside. Reimer's going to have nowhere to go. He's going to be blocked in from Shariah being ahead of him. And, well, somehow the Alpine stays ahead that time. I thought that was going to be pretty slam dunk from the Alfa Romeo there, but he's going to be slightly more patient than I would have expected. Well, he's going to lose traction coming off the curb, exiting turn 5. Puts Caesar in position now. And Reimer still within half a second of Shariah, but 0.2 of a second separate Caesar and Slayerized. If Caesar has a better exit at turn 9, in towards 10, he may have a move. No, not this time for the McLaren. But as I was about to say, it seems like consistency slightly harder to see. If your name isn't Lancey, who, again, won the first 4 rounds of the season, it almost seems like these good results are few and far between. You can be in the right place at the right time and have things not go your way at the end of it, and I think that's kind of what's happened for several drivers over these 5 rounds that we've had so far that really seem as if the bad luck is equally spread amongst the pack. But at the moment, no bad luck the way of Edwin, unless perhaps another safety car comes out. That would be a huge, huge problem from him. But at the moment, he has 8 seconds of lead over Shariah, which not too long ago was only about 5 seconds. But as these 4 cars battle here for position, it would make sense that the delta's getting larger and larger between first and second place. As the top 5 make their way through turn 9, down the backstretch they go. I think the worry isn't going to be Edwin at this point in time. It really is going to be survival of the fittest. And who is going to be the fittest out of these 5? That is going to be the question at hand. As it looks like at the moment, Caesar doing well. As Osmanian Devil... Oh, something's gone wrong with Gab. He spun the car, I believe, coming out of turn 10. Has lost positions to both Osmanian Devil and George Mazda Guy. Unfortunate for him, but at the very least, he's been able to hold on to the car. And that's going to have to do. It's turn 1. Caesar, oh, he's going to have to be late on the brakes there. Reimer does get around Shariah. Caesar was initially having a look down the inside of Slayerized. Slayerized defended the line nicely, forced Caesar to go the long way around, and Caesar, I think, rather outbraked himself that time, and he'll have to hold on to P5. But Shariah Coleslaw still, don't let the age of the tires fool you here. He is battling quite nicely, despite being on, I would say, absolutely the off tire here. Within 10 laps to go now in the Spanish Grand Prix, it is Edwin out in front by almost 10 seconds now. But a very good battle amongst the top 5 as there goes Shariah looking for the outside. Not really, I don't think going to have it, but if the switchback can be performed, he may get a look, or if the mistake happens from Reimer, and the answer is going to be not right now at the very least. I think Reimer doing a good job of holding his line very steadily and not allowing Shariah to get any sort of good look at the second spot, although it does look as if we have Beamer, who's gone off on the inside of turn 10. He was battling with Ray Ray for the longest time, and I'm afraid of something happened as Shariah and Reimer side by side in towards the first corner. Shariah has gotten the spot. Slayerized is poking his head into this battle as well. Caesar once again trying to perhaps find purpose in this battle for second place. And I think Caesar doing well here. He's just playing it cautiously. He's hoping for the mistakes to happen. He's hoping maybe the top 3 in front of him battle hard and, you know, crash into each other. It's almost happened a couple times now. Although, as far as Caesar is concerned, he is starting to run out of time. That may not be the best decision to make for the McLaren. Is he going to have to get, you know, more aggressive here? That may be the reality for the McLaren. He's going to go wide, exiting turn 9. He's almost certainly picked up a track limits warning then, as it looks like Beamer has gone off once more, this time in the gravel outside of turn 4. Doesn't look as if he's hit anything, but he's trying to get the car back up to speed here. And those tires being overheated, it's going to be, hopefully for his sake, he does not find an incident. But now, as we head down the pit straight yet again, Caesar... Oh, and it looks like the Aston Martin of Ray Ray's gone off. Down to the inside, Caesar looking forward on Slayerized. Reimer getting around Shariah. Caesar has better traction on the outside, and finally Caesar. He played the patience game there, and he's come out with a position very nicely done But I would think Slayer Eyes is not going to be done just yet, as Shiraya, nor for him as well, 0.3 of a second still trying to find way around Reimer, and I'm not entirely sure how. With 21 lap old hard tires, I'm not sure how Shiraya is doing this, really. Not to mention that, but he's actually clearing Caesar and Slayer Eyes still, despite being on the old tires in the off compound. Yeah, he's doing very quite well. Into the pits goes Beamer. Has he ended up hitting something? I'm not entirely sure. But either way, he's into the pits, and unfortunately a bad day has gone to worse for Beamer, who, looked as if he was going to be off to a great start. And yes, has retired from the session officially. At the moment, your driver of the day has to belong to Slayer Eyes. Up 8 spots since the beginning, and oh, look at this! Several drivers dive into the pits there, Caesar being one of them. Did anybody else go? I don't think they did. Well, Caesar's the only driver out of this group of cars that decided to come in. Slightly bold. I'm not entirely sure. Is this a planned stop from Caesar? Huh. Very, very odd. Does that force Reimer, Shiraya, and Slayer Eyes to react? That's either going to be a brilliant tactical pit stop or a mistake from Caesar. We're going to have 6 laps to go this next time by. Can Shiraya make it those 6 laps on these very, very old hard tires? And still closing in on Reimer. Incredible. Slayer Eyes now outside of a second on Shiraya. Well, it's 0.6 of a second. And starting to close. Shiraya in pursuit of Reimer here. DRS activated for the Ferrari as they head down the pit straight again. 0.3 of a second, and closing down to the inside is Shiraya. Side by side into the first corner. Shiraya, is he going to have more traction around the outside? And then down to the inside through turn 3. Yes, he is. For the time being, it's brilliant side by side stuff, this. And yes, it does look as if Shiraya has pulled the maneuver off and promotes himself once more to the second spot. Very nicely done. And Reimer 0.4 of a second and actually starting to fall behind Shiraya. It looks as if in the slow speed section, it's very difficult, isn't it? Because I think, honestly, I'm not sure what's happening with Reimer here. Is it a mistake that's causing him to fall off? Because it looks as if in the straight line, Shiraya has the edge on him here. For the previous laps, it looked like Reimer in the slow speed was the better car, but at the moment it looks like Shiraya may just be the better car all around. Through 13 and 14 they go. Meanwhile, Slayer Eyes has once again found his way within a second of these two and will battle for the second spot along with Shiraya and Reimer. These guys have been battling for the better part of probably 15 laps now. This is great stuff. As down to the inside, Reimer looks on Shiraya. Slayer Eyes, once again, I think, wanting to have a look, but is I think, slightly too tentative to make it happen. I think he's more worried about making contact and ruining not only his race, but the driver's races around him. But either way, moves himself within half a second of these two now, and we're going to have one hell of a battle to the finish. Meanwhile, Edwin 16 seconds ahead. Get that car in free air, and he is absolutely dominant, as we can see. We're going to have 4 laps to go this time by. And just a heads up, next week we go to the newly revamped Abu Dhabi circuits. November the 6th, next Monday. Should be a very fun one. Half a second here for Slayer Eyes, trying his best. Still not necessarily in position to make something happen. Shiraya, I think, finally starting to lose position here. Slayer Eyes, does he have a move on Shiraya into the first corner? He's going to have to be well late on the brakes, nearly. Goes into the right rear tire of the Ferrari, but Does not collide, and everybody stays okay for now. That was eerily similar to what happened with Slayer Eyes before, as he collided with Gab about 15, 16 laps ago. As he was late on the brakes, locked up, and went into the right rear tire of the McLaren, very similarly. But for the time being, it is still Shiraya within 0.2 of a second now on Reimer. I tell you what, Shiraya is absolutely demanding the most out of that car. 25-lap-old hard tires. He's only made the one stop. And still, look at the pace on this Ferrari. Question is, who's going to begin to struggle first? Is it going to be the Alpine, or is it going to be the Ferrari? I would have to think that Shiraya would have been struggling for some time now, but the timing and the overtakes and everything else just doesn't seem like that's the case. Although it has to be said now, Shiraya not necessarily get it. Well, I tell you what, I'll eat my words immediately, because I was about to say he wasn't necessarily getting closer in the straight line, but he's sure proved me wrong there, as he almost had to move to the inside of Reimer that time through turn 2. And now Slayer Eyes, this has opened the door for the Alfa Romeo. He's going to look down to the inside. If he makes this happen, it'll push Shiraya down to 4th. Oh, and Shiraya's going to lose the car! No, and Shiraya was doing so well, but just look at the state of the tires. Has to be said, that was a long time coming, and it looks like he's going to lose at least the spot then to Osmanian, perhaps to Gab as well. Very, very valiant effort from Shiraya then, but I'm afraid it's all come spinning away from him. And that is more or less shut the door for Slayer Eyes, as now is outside of a 1.5 seconds on Reimer, after having to slow with the spinning car in front of him. We have 2 laps to go here. Does Slayer Eyes perhaps have enough in the tank to make something happen and get to Reimer? That's going to be a huge question. For the most part, it does look as if perhaps his Slayer Eyes is his, best chance gone. That, I think, might be the reality of it. He had, I would say, several attempts here, several potential attempts to overtake. Huh. It's very, tough to say. As it has to be said in that song by Grover Washington Jr. and Bill Withers, good things might come to those who wait, but not for those who wait too late, as Shiraya around the outside of Osmanian, trying at least, and well, Shiraya, a great attempt, but unfortunately it's not happened there. Slayer Eyes, final lap of the Grand Prix now, does not have DRS to Reimer, and I think that is probably going to have been his best opportunity. But Shiraya here, how has he still got this much pace? He's going to be overtaking Osmanian here for the 4th spot. How is he doing this? How does he have that much life left? And he's going to clear the AlphaTauri. Wow. Absolutely dumbfounded. 28-lap-old hard tires. Slayer Eyes still doing his best to get to Reimer, but has to be said, the eyes are going to be on Edwin here. He's had himself a brilliant day, as realistically led from, I don't want to say start to finish, but it's been very commanding, and it's Edwin who will be winning the Spanish Grand Prix here for Red Bull. Very nicely done, and now becomes the 3rd different winner in Monkey Mafia Esports history, joining Lancey and Lightwork. And now the battle for 2nd place once more, as they make their way through 13 and 14. I think Slayer Eyes is just not close enough. Reimer will take 2nd place, a hard-fought 2nd place. Slayer Eyes 3rd. And if he can hold on and Unbelievable effort from Shariah, who I think was on for a podium, had the spin, but was able to recover and take fourth. Nicely done from Shariah. Caesar in fifth has run a clean race. No complaints for him. Osmanian sixth. Gab seventh. George Mazdagai and Ray Ray will be the final two here, unfortunately, for Beamer, Lancey, Lightwork, Gazboy, Fireballer, and Mini. They did not finish the Grand Prix, but it's a big congratulations to Edwin. And next time out, next week on Monday, we head to the Abu Dhabi circuit for the 7th round of the Monkey Mafia Esports League. Hotspot's been a pleasure joining you this time out, and we'll see you next time.